Over 80% of viewers on the channel are unsubscribed. As I'm pushing for 50,000, your support would be greatly appreciated. Aircraft delivery delays are one thing that's impacting airlines right around the world. It feels like a reoccurring topic. And in extreme cases, it can completely derail an airline's plan that it may have been working on for years. In the case of Qantas, their plans have been massively adjusted as they face mounting pressures and also a general inability to obtain aircraft when they had initially forecasted. In recent months, the flag carrier of Australia has postponed deliveries, made adjustments to the retirement of older aircraft, and pushed back the launch of exciting new projects as uncertainty creeps in on when the planes that they've ordered will actually be able to arrive and make all of these endeavors possible. While Boeing makes headlines for all the wrong reasons, and airlines such as United see themselves as overstaffed due to the latest delays in acquiring Boeing planes, this is an industry-wide problem that doesn't just affect Boeing. Qantas's most recent delays actually all come from Airbus-produced aircraft, and they're not alone. It just maybe isn't going to be as publicly pushed out there because it isn't Boeing. But truly, what's the latest for the major airline that is looking to reclaim its former glory, win back the trust of Australians, and capture more market share? Let's begin with the headline and arguably landmark Airbus A350. This was a deal placed amid the global pandemic recovery that had been several years in the making. A deal for the A350s came following RFP, or Request for Proposals, for an aircraft that would be capable of allowing Qantas to complete the final frontier of travel that would be known as Project Sunrise, with essentially Australia being able to reach locations such as New York, London, maybe as far as Rio de Janeiro, from ports of Sydney and Melbourne. The catch, all this being done without a single stop. These mammoth 20-plus hour journeys are, once they launch, set to reshape how Qantas offers long-haul travel and also connectivity from the famous land down under. Initially, Qantas had forecasted a launch with the A350 in the mid-2020s. However, as time progressed, it certainly became apparent that for the capabilities of these aircraft to actually make Project Sunrise possible, modifications would be required to the fuel tanks offered on this specially built A350-1000. It wasn't your ordinary A350. As part of these modifications, Qantas said it didn't necessarily want to disclose publicly, but admitted that while delivery delays are not something they want to see as an airline, they can't always be helped. More often than not, they're out of the control of the airline in question, who are simply in negotiations with the manufacturer who are dealing with the problems. Manufacturers still to this day are dealing with supply chain issues, following not just the global pandemic, but also, if you think about it, the breakout of conflict and a whole lot more. However, notably for the A350s concerning Project Sunrise, their delivery encompasses areas that are not necessarily considered when generally taking a look at the broader delivery of other aircraft types. Because as I did touch on, this is not your average A350-1000. It is a modified aircraft that is being delivered for use at Qantas and Qantas only. In February of 2024, Qantas confirmed that Project Sunrise will no longer launch in 2025. Now it'll be the midway point of 2026 at the earliest. This, like I always say, is subject to change. Considering how the industry has moved over recent years, timelines can never be surefire until, say, the product is delivered and the flights are launched. What the update at least did do was represent a 6-month delay over the initial guidance that was provided by the airline, which means customers will have to wait longer to be able to board flights from the east coast of Australia to locations such as New York JFK and London Heathrow without a single stop. While the A350 delay did make headlines, and trust me, rightfully so given its importance to the future of Qantas and their international operations, the delays did not ultimately stop there. The airline also announced revised delivery plans for its first A321 XLR. This is the extra long-range variant to the A321neo and a further enhancement on the existing A321LR. The hope is, at least, that with the birth of the XLR, airlines will be able to redefine how they offer single-aisle travel, and also not just boost capacity, but stop the mounting pressures that are felt on wide bodies. Qantas has placed orders for this aircraft as they hope to boost capacity and also have greater levels of flexibility across their domestic and short-haul international flights. But now they'll experience a 3-month delay, meaning the aircraft will first now arrive in the first quarter of 2025 rather than at the end of this year. However, in a similar sense to the A350 delivery, these things can change at a moment's notice. And it's important to remember that while the A350-1000 is to be a highly modified variant, the XLR isn't even certified and has been experiencing its very own pushbacks in approval as Airbus battles those certification troubles with concerns present around the additional fuel tank. This important to making that additional range possible. The jury is out on if the revised timeline will be stuck with, but per Qantas, we should expect the first XLR in the early stages of 2025. You'll then likely have a familiarization plan put in place before it will finally enter scheduled passenger operations. Think of it very similar to the A220. At this stage, the Qantas group has actually only been able to take delivery of the A220 as part of this new era that the group is attempting to enter into for its day-to-day operations. Including next generation and narrow bodies, it's the regional type that has certainly made its mark already, as they look to remove some of their older jets. The 787s, however, were, many would argue, the first step in this long-winded plan, but they were delivered some time ago. While new orders for the Dreamliner do exist and remain unfilled, the aircraft was just also one of those planes that was delayed across the last half a decade, with finally those delays being ironed out. It highlights this is a more widespread problem than just Boeing or just Airbus. At times, Qantas was waiting upwards of 2 years to acquire fully built units. As touched on, Qantas is ultimately one of the many airlines worldwide that is currently facing delays in the delivery of new aircraft. These delays can negatively affect several elements of a business and will eventually also hurt airlines in different ways. For Qantas, these new aircraft in most cases are seen not just as important for general fleet renewal and replacement efforts, but also critically important for the upgrading of routes to reach new markets, and also lifting customer satisfaction levels. This area has needed a significant amount of focus following many years of former executives failing to pay attention to their relationship with staff and customers. This deteriorated so much that their rankings dropped to an all-time low, and these new aircraft are also seen with a new product as part of the rebuild efforts. That's going to conclude today's analysis on what's been happening when it comes to delivery delays for Qantas with their Airbus aircraft. What are you most excited to see? The A350-1000 delivery, or is it the A321 XLR? Let me know down below in the comments. Thanks a lot for your support. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. It would certainly mean a lot. Take care, and I'll see you next time.